POV, you've just painted an amazing denim design. You want to wear it, you want to use it, but that means you have to wash it. But how do I make my designs washable? You yell out into the universe. And that's where I appear and I say, welcome to the wonderful world of heat setting. Hello, my name is Lilith and this is Zigantala, and today I'm going to be walking you through the very important process of heat setting and how it can ensure the longevity and washability of your denim designs. Just as a basic summary of this video, I'm going to be going through what heat setting is. We're going to be exploring the different ways you can heat set, and then going through what you need to consider when choosing the right heat setting process for yourself and your project. And then I'm also going to walk you through my preferred way of heat setting. And today we're going to actually heat set side A of my mini album denim tote bag. So if you want to learn all about that, make sure to keep watching, because yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. Okay, so as a basic explanation, heat setting is a process that's used a lot in the world of fabric painting or putting designs on fabric. And it's basically where we apply heat and sometimes even pressure to the paint that we've put on our garments so that we can make sure that the paint latches onto the surface properly, which usually results in the longevity of the design, and sometimes can even mean that you can wash your garments, you can get them wet. The properties can vary depending on what fabric paint you use. Right now, I'm going to be going through the different processes of heat setting, because there are lots of different ways you can do it. A lot of these ways are very specialized and can sometimes only apply to a specific application of fabric paint onto a specific garment. But basically what I want to do is highlight to you and inform you about all of the different ways you can heat set, to show that it is a very universal thing that we do. A lot of heat setting techniques also range from needing specialized equipment down to using appliances that you can just find in your home. And also keep in mind that there are probably other ways of heat setting that I don't mention in this video, but these are the ones that I've come across the most in my journey in the internet and researching about different ways to heat set when I was first starting out. Okay, the first method of heat setting is using a heat press. This is usually mostly applied when you're doing screen prints on t-shirts, or even if you're using like transfer paper and you want to transfer an image onto a t-shirt. I see heat presses used a lot in that process. I'm not really quite sure how much it costs, but it is a very specialized piece of machinery. And that's basically where you put your garment and you can press it down and it uses heat and pressure. That's one way of heat setting. Another way of heat setting can be using your oven, microwave, or a dryer. This is a method I've never really used before in regards to heat setting, just because I feel like using a heat press machine, it needs to be something that is applicable to the process that you're using to put designs onto your clothes. I've come across like some clothes customization kits that say to cure the paint you just need to put your garment in the oven at a certain temperature. Sometimes it's you put it in a dryer. So that's another way. And to break it down, it's basically just putting your garment into a vessel that's going to apply heat to it. I have never tested this process out before, so I wouldn't really recommend it unless what you're using, like the paint you're using or the kit that you're using, specifies for you to do that. But I'm just informing you, it's another way to heat set. The third way of heat setting is my favorite, and I think it is one of the most easiest ways to do it, and that is with an iron. Obviously, irons are very easy to use. Usually if you know how to iron your clothes. They're not very expensive and the process doesn't really take that long. Heat setting with ironing is the method that I use the most and what I've used to cure most of my fabric paints onto my clothes. That's the one I've had the most experience with, and I've never really had any problems with it, and that's the process I'm going to be walking you through today. But before we get into that, I've just got one other process of heat setting, and that is using a hairdryer or a heat gun. So this is a little bit more like ironing. It's a very easy heat process for you to do because it only requires you to have like a household item. A heat gun is obviously a little bit more of an intense version of a hairdryer. So if you need to get up to higher temperatures, you can use a heat gun. Heat guns can get very, very hot, so I would only recommend using them if you know how to use it, if you've got the space to use it, and once again, if it applies to what you're doing the best. I have actually heat set with a hairdryer before, and I use hairdryers to heat set things that I can't iron. So for instance, I've painted on shoes before that have needed heat to cure the paint, and obviously you can't iron a pair of shoes. So I blasted it with a hairdryer around the surface for however long the paint told me to. And that was the way I applied heat. Sometimes I do use hair dryers, usually if I'm painting on shoes or sometimes handbags that can't be ironed, that's when I would also use that heat setting method. So those are the heat setting methods I've come across the most on the internet. In order to choose what's best for you, there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind. One, definitely please read the instructions that come with your fabric paint or come with the kit that you're using to create personalized clothes, because that's usually going to give you the best indication of what heat setting process is best for your situation. Usually fabric paints will tell you how to heat set your fabric paint. They're usually going to give you a little bit more information on what to do. For instance, you need to iron for 5 minutes, you need to put it onto this heat setting, you need to do it for this long, things like that. It's going to indicate to you the result you'll get once you heat set. I know that on this video I'm saying how to make your clothes washproof, but it also really depends on the paint that you're using, because sometimes paints can recommend a heat setting process to you, but the result might be it's only waterproof, or you can only wash it up to a certain extent, to a certain temperature, or you can only hand wash it and not machine wash it. So as a summary, yeah, it's very important for you to look at the paint you're using, or the kit or the instructions that are coming with the process that you're using. It's going to give you an indication of what's best for you. For example, the paint that I use tells me that I should be ironing my clothes for 5 minutes, and that will allow the clothing to be machine washable up to 40 degrees. I hope that really explains to you what heat setting is, the different ways you can do it, and what you sort of need to keep in mind when you are heat setting your clothing. As I said before, today we're going to be heat setting with an iron because that's my most trusted way. I always let my artwork sit and dry for 24 hours before heat setting. All right, let's get a move on and iron this bag. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through my heat setting process. I've got my denim bag that I'm gonna iron, and then I've got my iron here. I just use whatever iron I have. I've just turned it on and we're waiting for it to warm up. First I'd like to go through, depending on what type of fabric you're painting on, will determine what heat you need to put your iron onto. Today I've painted on denim. So I find that denim or anything that's sort of cotton, you can do to a higher setting. Usually you will just have to choose a heat depending on what fabric it is. So if it's a little bit more synthetic, maybe not as hot as if you're ironing denim or cotton. Make sure that you read the instructions that come with your fabric paint. My fabric paint says that you need to use whichever heat that you would apply to whatever fabric you're ironing. So I've just turned it on high, so we're going to use that. Another thing as well is that, so I only want to heat press one side. So usually if I'm heat pressing, I iron from the opposite side of the surface that's painted on. So in this instance, if I didn't actually have on this side, I would just turn this bag inside out and then just iron it. But we've got a bit of a problem because of this other side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this bag inside out, and this is what you would usually do with any sort of denim garment. So if you've got a denim jacket, turn it inside out. You can pretty much just iron from the inside. But I've got paint on both sides, on both surfaces on the inside now, and I find that when I iron things where two painted surfaces are touching, I find that that can make them stick together, and I don't want that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to slip a piece of fabric in between the two surfaces so that when I do iron, the heat is being applied to one side and it's not going to be pressed into the other painted surface. Because as I said, we run the risk of the paint sticking together, and fabric paint is already quite tacky in nature. Another method I can do is I can leave the bag as is, and then I can apply a pressing cloth over the top and then iron over that. So that way this surface isn't coming into contact with the iron, and it's also not coming into contact with another painted surface. So there's two ways I can go about this, but right now I think what I want to do is I'm going to turn it inside out, and I'm going to slip a piece of fabric in between the layers. And that's how I'm gonna do it today. You can use a pressing cloth, you can use an old tea towel. Sometimes I usually just use a scrap piece of fabric, and I always try to make sure that it's cotton. I also try and make sure it's a dark fabric, because there is a slight chance that you might transfer, and the darker the fabric, the less impact it has. But usually I try to use like a scrap fabric or a piece of fabric that you know that you won't get upset if it gets transfer on it. Today I'm just gonna be using like a dark piece of cotton fabric. Okay, so you can see now I've turned the bag inside out. I've got the side that I want to be heat fusing on the top, and then I also have my fabric in the middle so that the two painted surfaces aren't pushing against each other. Now I'm just going to go with my iron. We don't need any steam settings on at the moment because our main focus is pressure and heat. With a lot of paints, you'll find that they'll also give you a duration of how long you need to iron for. The paint that I'm using is Cettacolor Opaque, and it says that I need to iron it for 5 minutes. So what I try to do is I try to make sure that I apply an even amount of pressure along the whole surface or the areas that I know are painted, and I do that for 5 minutes. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing now. 5 minutes, let's go. And while I'm ironing, I just want to give you guys a couple of tips. So when you iron, very important to make sure that you're evenly distributing the heat. Sometimes I've ironed denim jackets that have required maybe like 3 or 4 different sessions of ironing. It's more important to focus on smaller areas of ironing, making sure that they all get heated evenly, and then do like 5 or 6 sessions or whatever you need. If you've got a very, very large area you need to heat fuse. I also do this with sleeves as well. Sometimes I'll put decorations on sleeves, and I'll have a decoration on the front and then on the back. So already if I've got 2 sleeves, the front and the back of a jacket, that's already 4 sessions of ironing that I'm going to need to do. So that'll be 20 minutes. Okay, so my timer went off, and then I ironed for just 30 seconds more just to make sure that the whole area was warm, and ironed for 5 minutes. And yeah, that's it. So now I have heat fused side A of my mini album denim tote bag. To prove a point, I would now wash it to show you the effects of it being waterproof. The only thing is though, is that because of the crazy intricacy of these albums, I don't think I will be putting it into a washing machine. I think that if I do need to wash it, I will probably just do a very gentle hand wash, just because there is a sort of threshold of washability when it comes to fabric paints. They will naturally wear over time. I have designs that I painted 10 years ago, which I've been also throwing into the washing machine because they've just been experiments, and they have gradually sort of chipped off, probably because I haven't really been keeping care of them. But usually when you're painting denim on jackets, the designs are very big, they're not as intricate, but because this is such an intricate design, I don't think I'm gonna be putting it in the washing machine, but it's just important to heat fuse it anyways. But yeah, that is my heat fusing process. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I was able to inform you about the different processes of heat setting, what will be most appropriate to you, and obviously giving you a little bit of an insight into what I do. It all just comes down to experimenting as well. If you don't know the quality of what the fabric paint is going to be like once it's heat set, just experiment first. I always say this, do some swatches, heat set it, throw it in the washing machine, throw it in the dryer, throw it in a really, really hot, vicious cycle, and just see how the fabric wears. Yeah, that's the only way that you're gonna find out. There you go, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that whole process I walked you through. I hope you learned something new today, and I hope this helps you in your journey of creating customized clothing. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I also will though be making more music based videos as well, because my mini album series has really popped off, so we're gonna be creating a couple of videos in regards to that as well. But thank you very much, happy painting, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next video.